If you're in insurance, sales, or direct selling, you really need to watch this video. We're going to have a good chat with them about how, back in the days when people didn't even know the difference between essential oil and motor oil, they got started. They began developing their business back then, and we'll talk about how, step by step, they gradually built up their own business empire. Hello everyone. It's been a while since we've recorded an interview, and we always strive to find the very best in every industry for you. All these top performers we talk to have many dreams of their own within their fields. This is something I often mention in my classes or videos. When you choose a job, it's not about what your destiny chart says you should do, but about what you truly love. Then, based on the qualities that your destiny chart gives you, we build towards what you love. In their industries, these people make others feel that they are forging a unique path. Today, we found a very successful and strikingly attractive couple in this field, President Guo and President Su. Hello everyone. Hello, I'm Palin and I'm Kaijun. They were among the first batch of direct sellers in Taiwan. Yes, and the reason I say this is a very successful case is because the term direct selling is just like destiny analysis. When I first started doing destiny analysis, many people thought I was a woo. In reality, a lot of times people feel like it's a negative term. There's no denying that there are indeed some people in the industry who sell things irresponsibly. But in fact, there are also people who have built very successful businesses. Many of our students use essential oils, and now essential oils are widely recognized in Taiwan. Frankly speaking, I believe doTERRA has made a tremendous contribution to this. Back then, when you first started, what made you want to get into this business?
Actually, it was because of a very good friend of mine. The reason I wanted to get into this business at the time was because I tried it myself and found it to be extremely pure. To put it simply, when it comes to evaluating whether something is good or not, as soon as we used it, we felt that the scent and the overall experience were excellent. I thought the quality was top-notch. The key point is the price is very reasonable. This is crucial because in the past, when we heard about essential oils, people would say, good essential oils are expensive. So I thought, if this product can benefit many people and the price is accessible, if its cost-performance ratio is high enough, high value, I think it has very...
But they're a big market. When you joined, weren't all the companies American? Weren't they kind of shabby? Why weren't you really worried?
At that time, when the American founder came to Taiwan, he said something that I found unbelievable. Back then, they were holding their very first information session. A lot of people asked him about the company's background. He said, oh, this is how we started. A few of us founders put all our personal assets into the company, even mortgaged our houses to borrow money from the bank. None of that really answered my concerns. When I heard it, I was honestly stunned. Nowadays, every company in this industry claims to be part of some big group. Even if they're not, they still say they are, right? They have to make themselves look huge. Otherwise, who would trust them? But these guys weren't like that. They just straight up said they put all their personal money in, mortgaged everything. In the past, people would think, isn't that just too scary? Who would dare to follow someone who says things like that? That was my first thought. The second thing was, when I went home, I thought about it more. I thought carefully and realized that no company would ever say something like that. It was the first time I met a boss who was so honest and upright. Every company that ends up having problems, it's always related to the boss, because the boss's decisions determine the future outcome. So what really struck me was their attitude.
Their sincerity and honesty made me feel this was a company worth following. We'll discuss his perspective later and use the chart to explain. Many signs on the chart also show these qualities. So, did you always go along with what your husband wanted, like the saying, the husband sings and the wife follows, or did you ever try to stop him at first?
He's someone who is very capable and performs exceptionally well at work, so there are always a lot of opportunities around him. Many people come to him asking if he can help them, assist with developing a certain industry, or work on their products. So he was already very busy, and on top of that, at the time, we also had our own consulting company. We were also representing an anti-aging product from Germany, and on top of that, we were helping some friends with their marketing strategies. So we were already extremely busy. As for me, I was mainly handling the back end, taking care of administrative tasks, handling things well, and making arrangements, right? I remember it very clearly. When we first started with doTERRA, I was a bit worried. I thought, oh, now I have one more thing to do. Do I really want to get into this industry as well? Is it going to work out or not? Is it good or bad? I think a lot of people's partners have these kinds of concerns. The worry isn't necessarily about whether it will definitely succeed, but rather that there are so many unknowns. At that moment, I had a change of mindset, and I'm really glad I did. Because I thought, what if this is actually a chance for success? Would I end up holding him back from this opportunity just because my vision isn't broad enough or I can't see far enough ahead? What if I stop him and he misses out on a brilliant future and things just fall apart? What then? So at that time, I decided I would support him. So I resolutely followed him everywhere to learn about essential oils and to share them. Looking back over this period, it turns out that this was the right thing to do. That's why I often share with my team that the best decision I made back then was to support him and to encourage him. I kept moving into this field to ease my own concern.
I've always believed that someone who can excel in any industry can do well, no matter what field they switch to. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I don't like settling for the status quo or just working a regular job. So I always look for ways to start my own business. Whenever there's a new opportunity, I won't let it go. I go for it and work hard at it. For me, Duo has brought me the most in my life. That is to say, I think this platform is extremely important to me. No matter how hard I worked before, things could go well and I could make money. But yes, that's good. But as we mentioned, we managed to turn things around. I've always felt that this industry is really amazing, and I don't think there's any other industry quite like it. In this business, why is it that consumers can actually save more the more they use it? And operators can earn money through providing services. All right, and then our service.
Our service has to be spot on, something traditional businesses can't achieve. We have to get it right. You must have encountered similar situations in the beginning, like, why can't I sell this product? No one knows me, even though I've talked to so many people. Oh, everyone watching this episode will relate, even if they're not in direct sales. I believe every entrepreneur faces this kind of challenge and these feelings when dealing with problems. So, how did you solve this issue?
It was clear at the time because by the law of large numbers, if you reach enough people, some will resonate with you.
Right?
I truly believe that. If people aren't resonating at first, what do? I just increase the volume, share with more people. Some accept things quickly, others take longer. What can you do? I can't just change them instantly. Right, so that means I need to be proactive, right? By increasing the volume, I'll eventually reach the right people. That gives me confidence and I'll see results. That's the first thing you can do. Just share with as many people as possible. Of course, you have to be sincere and genuinely care about others. A lot of people get anxious because they're eager to make money. So I think in this industry, you can't be in a rush to make money. If you approach it with that mindset, you'll end up with the opposite effect. It'll just put a lot of pressure on others. I think you really need to be patient. You need to let people get to know you gradually, see your attitude, see your sincerity, and truly feel that what you're offering is good and that you have a method. But what we're talking about is being proactive without being impatient. We often say that if you're impatient, the results won't be good, but your actions should still be proactive. If you can maintain this kind of mindset, extend the timeline and increase the scale, and I believe you'll gradually start to see some results. It's not like the old days when people said that direct selling could make you rich quickly. I think that idea is still misleading for some people. You really have to treat it like starting a business. Direct selling is actually the same as entrepreneurship, just like traditional startups. In fact, sometimes it takes even more time and effort than starting a traditional business, but the difference is that you don't need a large amount of capital. If you don't have funds and you want to start a business, this is truly a viable path. Traditional entrepreneurship is also tough, just as tough, but you need to have capital. That's the difference. In traditional businesses, the bigger you want to grow, the more capital you need. To expand, you need enough money, a strong heart, and the courage to keep investing if you want to get bigger. But in this industry, you don't need that. If you keep doing the same thing, it will keep snowballing and growing larger. That's its advantage. But the mindset you need at the beginning is actually the same as traditional entrepreneurship, and sometimes it can even be tougher. However, the outcome is different.
I think that getting started is always the hardest part. Every success story has a humble beginning. As long as you truly see and believe that this is an opportunity. In fact, in our company, there are many ordinary people who have achieved success and even transformed their lives through this platform. Sometimes we think, hey, if they can do it, we should be able to as well. If you really follow the process and take each step as it's laid out, you'll see these kinds of results. Of course, we also face difficulties and challenges along the way. I tell my team this too. Heaven doesn't treat us any better. It's not like we only get the easier cases or more positive situations. We encounter challenges too.
Exactly.
That's what makes it all so exciting.
A lot of people, right? As long as they have negative thoughts, just like many people have negative views about fate, many people also have negative opinions about me. There must be some aspects that are controversial or things that people think weren't done well. But let's not worry about whether others are doing well or not, because if they're not, that's their own issue. What we need to focus on is how to choose a good team, how to choose
a good product. I think you first need to consider whether your attitude is suitable for entrepreneurship.
Then,
some people really just don't have that kind of attitude. Unless you're willing to change, I think when it comes to starting a business, there are basically some requirements. Or you could say that if you succeed, there are certain traits involved. So you need to first see if you're able to change and become like that, or if you can have those traits or that kind of attitude. And if you don't, are you willing to change and do these things? If you're not willing to, then of course it's going to be difficult, right? We can't just say those nice sounding things like, oh, you just have to take it easy
and you'll succeed.
And you'll make it once you get started. Honestly, that's not how it works. But we often
hear talk in direct sales that's
impossible. You
would actually say to someone, oh, after you buy it.
Would you really say that? I tell people, there's no way you can just take it easy. You have to work really hard.
Yeah,
You'll definitely have to go through a lot of mistakes before there's even a chance. I won't tell them it's that easy because it's just not possible. If you want to succeed here, you have to be prepared to pay a price, the price of success. You need to be ready for that. There's no way I can lie to you and say there isn't. That would be me deceiving you, and that's impossible. So you absolutely have to go through that process. Of course, a lot of things actually have patterns you can follow. If you say there's no way to find a path, there definitely is. Just look at which type within this industry has been the biggest and lasted the longest. Can't you get some direction from that? There's always something. If you look at certain industries and see why some people can last so long and grow so big, it means their overall direction is right. Right, so when you're choosing a company, can you first think about this aspect? Or maybe you should consider what you're good at. For example, if the job requires strong communication skills, you should first ask yourself if you're really good at speaking and expressing yourself. If you are, then maybe it's a good fit. But if you're not very articulate, then this might be a big challenge for you. But if you're willing to give it a try and you can make others feel your presence, then maybe this is something you can do more easily. Maybe your chances are a bit higher with this, right? If the probability of success is higher, of course you choose this path. So at the beginning, can you also calm down and think about whether this direction gives you a better chance of success? You still need to calmly reflect on it yourself. Right. So do you have any thoughts, Miss? Yes.
Actually, sometimes it's just about looking at things from different perspectives. Everyone has different traits or values, right? I also believe that our team or our mentors all hope for us to succeed. Sometimes because our positions are different, we can make our own judgments. If I don't really like a certain approach, let's first see whether this approach is actually right. If it's not right, then we shouldn't follow it. So how do you judge what's right and what's wrong? Just look at the people in the company who are at higher levels or have achieved better results. What kind of direction are they taking? What kind of methods are they using? If their approach is different from yours, then you might start to think that maybe your way isn't the right one. Now, if their approach is the same and it's a good one, but you find that you can't do it yourself, what should you do then? I think at that point, you can have a constructive conversation with your mentors or your team. This approach might not work for you. Could you try a different angle or create a direction that suits your own strengths and weaknesses?
because
I think finance is so great that I believe everyone can do it very well. It must be that you haven't found the right path for yourself yet. Sometimes good communication is still very important.
what if Song Miao is really that bad?
Of course, we always try to mediate, right? You can stay or you can carve out your own path, because I once heard in a speech, a teacher also shared that if right now the actions of the teacher above you are things you don't like or can't accept, can you promise me one thing? That is, start with yourself and don't let these things happen again.
Happen.
Can you do that perhaps right now? Don't look up. Look down.
Right.
I don't like this behavior, so I shouldn't pass it down to others.
Pass it down.
If the people above us help us, then we're lucky. We get that extra support. But if they don't, that's also normal. You still have to rely on yourself.
Like we said before, sometimes the difficulties someone gives you actually become the reason for your success.
It really depends on how you choose to look at it. These hardships and challenges that you are facing are actually shaping you, right?
We often say that both the good and the bad are actually good.
Yes.
It all depends on how you look at things, right?
Right.
That's really a great saying. I'm going to use it in my class next time. Well, actually, this idea is also reflected on both of your boards, you know?
Really, that's good.
So
Every guest we invite has a remarkable trait. They always manage to say things that are different from what most people think. Most people would expect you to always talk about the positive side, but it turns out that successful people often talk about the painful parts instead. Because if you haven't experienced it, where would you get it from? But in reality, everything requires effort. The two guests we have today, Layan, are really interesting. I'll talk about two things. The first is this. Just now, at the very beginning, we heard them speak, and it sounded like a classic case of a husband leading and the wife following. Like the husband says what to do, the wife just hesitates a bit, and then she goes along with it. Ah, why is that? Oh, it's very interesting. Yes, we discovered that their natal charts are actually reversed. That is to say, the husband's life palace happens to be the wife's travel palace, and the wife's travel palace happens to be the husband's life palace. Now, we all know that the travel palace represents your patience, which means that his life is actually a reflection of my inner self. So, Although there might be a bit of doubt, I am still very willing to support each other. The things you want to do, actually, deep down, I also feel like, hey, maybe it's possible, so I'll just go along with it. When we talk about marital relationships, especially couples who run a business together, this is a really great trait to have. It's quite special. Yes, and then some students might ask, Teacher, if my life palace is the same as my partner's, wouldn't that be even better? Wouldn't we have even more of the same qualities? Because he is me and I am him. Here, there's something everyone needs to understand. What I want to do, he also wants to do in his heart, and what he wants to do is also what I want to do. Sometimes there can be a bit of a small conflict. What do I mean by a small conflict? If he wants to be the emperor, then I also want to be the emperor. If he wants to be the sun, I also want to be the sun. At this point, there can't possibly be two suns under the sky. Two tigers can't live on the same mountain unless one of them is a tigress. So, this kind of reversed chart actually works extremely well when it comes to business partnerships. Another thing is, the main focus today is on the business aspect. The couple works together, and at the very beginning, it was the husband who planned to do it this way. So, let's mainly look at the husband's side. In Brother Bo's chart, his Zi Wei star faces Po Jun in the opposite palace, and he also has DJA and Tianxing here. Traditionally, if you look this up online, you'll find that this is called the rebellion formation. And with those two additional stars, no matter how you look at it, it just seems like a terrible chart, or a life full of ups and downs, or just something bad. Basically, there's never anything good said about it. Alright, so that's how it's usually seen here. In reality, life isn't always the way you imagine it to be. Instead, you have to find the path that suits you. Why did the ancients say that this kind of chart is bad? It's because people like this will never accept the predetermined path that society's values set for them. They'll always feel that there are more possibilities in life. In ancient thinking, people like this were seen as disobedient children. If your father tells you to do something, why don't you just do it? Our family is farming just fine, making good money hauling manure, so why would you choose to haul feces? That's why, in ancient times, this kind of chart was considered bad. But as we often say, a lot of what's written in books needs to be considered in the context of its era's values. In this era, especially in the industry that Brother Guo is involved in, having dreams and being seen as someone with ambition and positive energy is extremely important. Now let's look at the chart. When it points to the palace, there is Po Jun. Besides representing romance, Po Jun also symbolizes the place where one's dreams reside. So, he constantly displays a powerful force of dreams outwardly, and he hopes to be able to achieve this through. He wants his dreams to allow his life to be like that of an emperor. An emperor isn't about ruling over others, it's about making people feel that he's living well, and letting those around him know it too. So, next to him is the Tianxiang star. Frankly speaking, if you've read my articles or watched my videos, you'll know that we often mention that this chart is very suitable for direct sales and insurance, because these fields place great emphasis on interpersonal relationships. We also talked with Brother Gua, and he mentioned that he started to... When he first came into contact with doTERRA, it was right around the time he turned 40, which was during this period of his life. The main thread of the gyroscope, and then for the opposition, it just so happened that the sun and the moon were coming into contact at that time. He should have had experiments in hand simultaneously, and at the very beginning, he didn't completely give up his previous career, right? This is what we call your daytime job and your nighttime job. However, as he continued on, by around the age of 44, he gradually shifted his entire focus to his current Taurus-related business. That is, he entered the phase of leading and bringing others into the village, and for the opposition, on their main thread, it represents that he must have a lot of interactions with people. Moreover, when you see the phase of leading and bringing others in, you can tell that when there starts to be development within this organization, he also won't be in a rush to make big money, because in life, everything is about being upright and stable, gradually earning what you deserve through interpersonal relationships. Also, there's a star added on the side, which most people think is great. In fact, the star represents your ability to know how to manage these relationships and strategically plan things out. Also, that running around everywhere, searching here and there, today is another clear example of this. At first glance, a situation may seem unfavorable, but if you choose the right industry, the right platform, and do the right things, it can turn out well. It can develop extremely well. Once again, we witness that our fate is determined by ourselves, not by the heavens. For a long time, people have viewed destiny as something like, oh, the fortune teller says I am this or that. But we often tell people that life is definitely not just what your birth chart says. The key is that you have to find the right path for yourself, and that's what today is about. Thank you both. I will seriously look into your opportunities. Yes.
of course, for the sake of health.
Next, thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.